when we were living in California. That was a fucking pretty tough year, pretty depressing fucking year. If you look at the pictures, just based on my hair length, fucking my year in San Francisco, just based on my hair length, dude, was like maybe the most depressing year of my life, if not for the fact that there was the novelty of like living in a different country for the first time. Welcome to another episode of The Pupil's Life. I forgot my water, and it's all good. It's all good. We're going to keep this train rolling. I don't know if you can tell, but my eye is twitching, and it's been doing that for the last week. I don't know what that is, but, hopefully it'll sort itself out. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Pupil's Life podcast. My name is Nick Gomez. If this is your first time listening, welcome. If it's not, welcome back. I'm just gonna kind of get right into it because I've talked about, I've been doing this meditation adventure, to not call it a challenge. And I've been doing this meditation adventure, and basically what it is 60 days, 60 minutes every day, no stopping. And you just sit down, close your eyes, and do nothing. 60 minutes, 60 days. That's what I've been doing. I'm on day 16, I think. And it does a lot of things for you, right? But the thing that I'm going to talk about today is a product of this meditation adventure. Maybe the most impactful thing, if you've never done any kind of meditation, if you're a really busy person, if you are always listening to music or a podcast, or you always have some kind of noise around you, and you start this meditation adventure, I think the thing you'll notice most right off the bat is the kinds of thoughts that come to you are very different or new. They might seem like new thoughts. And, for all intents and purposes, they are, right? But really, it's just that they're thoughts that you haven't given any room to. So they've been there, they just haven't come to the surface because they've been blocked off by music or, all the things I just mentioned. And so I write, and I had already some kind of meditation practice where I did 25, 30 minutes, but I tried to focus on my breath. And so, a lot of these thoughts already came up for me. But now that I've been doing this, not for the purpose of writing, not for the purpose of relaxing, or, just for the purpose of doing nothing. One of the thoughts that came to me, I think it was 2 or 3 days ago, one of the thoughts that came to me was, there's something I haven't been talking about on the podcast. And it's like I had Molly, my friend Molly was on the podcast, and I talked to her sort of about, different tiers of truth for, sort of to set yourself up for success. And what I was telling her was, I have 3 different tiers of truth as far as my writing goes. There is the stuff I publish on Medium, which is like, sometimes that comes from, the top tier of like, fuck it, I'm giving you everything there is. And sometimes generally it comes from tier 2, where it's like, all right, I've sat with this and I've sort of figured out a way to tell you this in a way that it'll be beneficial to you. And then there's the third tier, which is just, I'm not really explaining this well. What I mean to say is that I have Medium, I have the books that I publish, and then I have my like private diary that I started when the whole pandemic started. And so the way that I see it is, if it's going on Medium, I don't really let it cook, because I want to be posting there regularly. So the most I'm going to let something sit for is a month, maybe. But there's not a lot of, revision that goes into those. And then there are the books, I work on those sometimes year round. And those you have to sort of, all right, you start off not knowing what the fuck you're doing, but you're just like, I can say whatever I want, right? Here is all of the truth. And because nobody's going to know until you publish it. And so that and the journal are kind of the same thing. But I view this journal, this diary of mine, as like, that's where I tell shit that, I don't even want to know, right? That's where I admit things to myself, as how I view it. Because sometimes there's a truth that, it's hard for you to accept. And so it's like, I'm not going to share this before, I'm ready. Then it's just going to fuck me up. And it's also not about, like, my life isn't about, I have to share everything. It's only, do I feel sort of weird that I am not weird, but like, do I feel like I want to share this? And so that's what I'm getting at. The long-winded way, of course, in fucking Nick fashion, my long-winded way of saying that, there's something that, not that I haven't been talking about on purpose, but just something that I haven't really known how to talk about. And I've talked about it before. I guess I just haven't given you an update. And I don't even want to call it an update. It's just like, what I'm learning about it in present day, I guess, versus what you already know about it if you listen to the podcast, or if you listen to them in the future and then you listen to this after that. But basically, I wrote my memoir, We All Wear Masks, and it's about one of my past relationships. It's about infidelity. It's about me selling myself to just basically strange men. I used to say older, but really, when I sat down at the new book I'm writing, I've been realizing, like, it's not always older men. I mean, it's older in the sense that they are older than me, but like, if I say older men, that gives you the idea that they're like 60 or 70, and all of that, like, there's been those for sure, but I don't want to generalize as all older men. But so anyway, I published this book, right? And that was like the thing I was most scared to talk about, was how does somebody who grew up where I did, and how does somebody like that, all of a sudden just tell everybody, oh, hey, by the way, I've been performing sexual acts for strange men for money. And most of the time these are like, degrading acts. That's just not the kind of and so that was a very difficult thing for me to do. And then, as I did it, I published the memoir. I published a bunch of articles about it, and I've talked about it here and there on the podcast, but I haven't really, what have the last 2 years have been like for me in regards to that, because my ex-girlfriend and we broke up, I think, and this isn't the one from the memoir. This is a girlfriend after that. We broke up almost 2 years ago. And so in those 2 years, what is that? That's generally when the sexual act with the men comes up for me, is when I feel pain and I want to escape from it. That is, the mechanism that serves for me. And furthermore, right, it was like when I was really young, it wasn't sexual acts for men, in real life. It was just sexual acts performed on myself via webcam, right? And that was when I was a teenager, 13, 14, 15. And these were 50, 60, 70-year-old men. And so I've been, another one of the things that I've been learning is that it's just, if I'm alone, that is prime time for these feelings to come up of, low self-esteem and just like, I'm bored. I want to do something crazy. I want to fuck up my life in some way. And so what have the last 2 years been like? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because last week, or, I would say maybe the first 10 days from the moment I got back from Mexico, my recent trip to Mexico, it came up again for me. And, I had a little dance with the devil, but I didn't, I what's the word? Abstinent. And I didn't go through with it, but I had a little, I dipped my toe in the water just to see what it was like. And so that came up in my meditation, was like, I feel this strong desire to just be open on the podcast and talk about whatever I want. But why is this something that I'm scared to talk about still? And, it could be boiled down to, I'm afraid of being rejected, right? Fucking Philip McKernan would say that. But even, to go deeper into that, it is a couple of things. And I'm just going to use the word relapse for simplicity. If I were to relapse and, go out and meet up with a guy, there is this narrative in my head that it means none of the work I've done has worked. And it's all just been bullshit, and I'm fooling myself, And part of that comes from this idea I have that, there are a few people that I feel this energy of like, they're rooting against me. They don't believe in what I'm doing. They want to, if it was up to them, I wouldn't be doing this, and I would just be quiet about it all. And, just stop, as they would say, stop hurting us by sharing your truth. And so there is this just like self-consciousness in me that like, and this is why I'm talking about it, is because it's not a battle. but it's easy for me to fall into the trap of thinking that it's a battle, and like, oh, if I fuck this up, then it means they were right. It's like I'm not even them being right is not even a part of the equation, because they're just looking at it with the wrong lens, or with, I shouldn't say the wrong lens. They're just looking at it with a different lens, and so of course they're going to see something else. But with the lens that I'm looking at my life and my experiences, and learning to have compassion, and learning that these were things that I did because I was in pain, you know, you fucking there is no they were right, because even if I did relapse, and then they thought they were right, they are not, they're just people that are, holding negative energy. um and so yeah, that's why I wanted to talk about it, and that's why I haven't talked about it, is because I'm I'm scared. That's the God's honest truth, is that there's still this habit of mine to, not just take ownership. And it's like, yeah, fucking, I dance with the devil, and I'm, even if I'm still dancing with the devil, I know sort of what that's like. I know that even if it happens, it's not the end of the world. And relapse is a part of recovery. That's what they say. And it's true. It's not just what they say, it's what I've experienced. And so what have the last 2 years been like for me? Um, when my ex-girlfriend and I broke up, I think it was like a month. No, I think it was 2 weeks, or sometime in the first month is when I went to Las Vegas. I think so. I think it was like May that we broke up, and then I think I went to Vegas early June or something like that. And that was when I started to, that's when I danced with the devil again, was like, and when I say dance with the devil, I mean like come close to doing it, but not actually do it. I was in Vegas, fucking Sin City, and I took edibles, and I was just fucking like, wanting to escape. Um, and so I put up ads. I put up ads in fucking Las Vegas, and I was just like, fuck it, dude. Let's see where this takes me. Right. And because I had a good run in the World Series, and because I, just was able to control myself, I guess, or I'm not sure what it was back then, but I didn't do it. Right. I didn't do it. Um, and then maybe like July or August, sometime around July or August, the desire crept back in. And it's a desire not to be sexual with another man. It's a desire to, you know, be in control, in the sense that if I do that, I know what I'm going to feel, which is shame and, almost like dissociation from myself, because I don't enjoy it. As soon as I start doing it, I stop enjoying it. Right. It's like, you know, uh, I want to try not to make light of this, but it's like, dude, giving a blowjob is not, you know, uh, even going down on a girl is like not the most fun thing in the world. At least with a girl, it's like I actually want to please her. With a guy, it's like I feel no physical attraction to you. You are just an object that I'm using to, repress my emotions. And so as soon as I start doing it, it's hard, dude. It's fucking physically taxing. And, you know, that's as much as I'll say, right? Because I know going into details is hard for people sometimes. And so July to August, I I relapsed. I didn't do it for money, and I was going to therapy, and I was talking about it with my therapist. So it was a very sort of, I don't want to say like guided experience, because I did it all before, and I did it all and then talked about it with my therapist. It's not like I was like, dude, I'm thinking about doing this, and he was like, God, all right, well, keep me posted, you know. Fucking uh and so yeah, man, I met up with this guy, and you know, I gave him a blowjob, and then I went home, and I was like, you know, yeah, that's exactly what I thought it was gonna be like, and it didn't fix anything. There was less, you know, I'd already written the memoir. I already like told everyone about these things. And so it was less of a burden of shame. And it was just like, why weren't you able to stop yourself? You know what this is, and you know why it happens. What's still keeping you in this loop? Right. And so I'm not going to go through each fucking time, but I would say that in the last 2 years, I've probably done that 3 or 4 times. And some of those times has been, you know, this this idea that has come from my therapists, and I say therapists because it's been two of them, that I think as a means of sort of helping me navigate it, they have suggested, like, you know, what if you tried going into one of these situations without this perception that it is a very bad thing to do, right? And so some of the times were like that, was like, all right, let's fucking like give this a shot and see if there is, is it because I actually want to do these things and I'm just ashamed because of where I grew up, because homosexuality there is wrong, like I've had these conversations with so many people, and I see where, if I was listening to myself right now, I could see where I would be like, maybe this is repressed, you know, sexual interest in men, uh, or I could see that, but being the person that's experienced it, there's just a gut feeling of like, this, I don't want to be doing this right now, but I'm doing it because it spikes my adrenaline, it spikes my fucking, like, I don't know all the words, but like my cortisol levels or something, and it makes me go into this fight or flight mode of like, do I do this or do I not? Right? And so then whatever else I was feeling, whatever kind of loneliness I was experiencing, sort of takes a back seat, because it's like, dude, this is fucking like, fight or flight. It's like, it's a very intense feeling, even when I'm not doing it. Even just going online and browsing is a very intense experience. Um, and so yeah, so it's been a couple of times over the last 2 years, and it happened. I browsed, and I sort of, I put up ads with the intention of doing it, but at the same time, there's because I know I don't want to do it, I sabotage every sort of every request, I guess. I make it really difficult for somebody to say yes. I'm like, fucking, you're gonna fucking, call me a fucking Uber there and back, and all these things, and like, because I don't want to do it. And so it's just that I want to feel wanted, dude. I think it's that I don't want to feel lonely and I want to feel wanted. That's where it originated, was just being a 13-year-old boy that was experiencing not living with his mom for the first year in his life, and moving in with his dad not really ever being around, heartbreak, fucking puberty, school stress, all these things. And at the same time, starting seventh grade in a school that went from seventh to 12th grade. So I was fucking, I was a self-conscious little prick, dude. And I don't even know why I said prick, but I had no guidance. I had zero guidance on how to navigate my life at that point, other than my dad just like, are your goods, are your grades good? Like, do you need money? Like, basically those were the two things he would ask. And just like, do you want to go to a movie this weekend? But I had zero guidance. And so I was that was a very, very difficult time in my life. And I solved it. My solution, because it worked back then, not to feel the feelings, but to eliminate them as much as I could. My solution to that was I found this website, and I don't even want to give the name out because I don't want people to if you want to go and fucking do this research on your own, and, you for some reason want to hurt yourself this way, you can figure it out. But I don't want to give you guys those tools. I found a website, and I could, webcam with guys and be abused and feel wanted. And so that was a solution to my problem of my dad not wanting me, or at least not knowing how to express it. My brother, living his own life, and us hanging out often, but like at the end of the day, he's not my parent. And neither it was anyone else in the entire city. The one person that was my parent was sort of acting out his own pain. And my mom was 3,000 miles away. And, funny side note, I went back and I found a letter that my mom wrote me that year, right? Because I had a car accident. On top of all that, I had a car accident where I wasn't wearing my seatbelt, and I was in the passenger seat, just flew into the windshield, broke my fucking half of my teeth. My gums suffered a bunch of trauma, and I couldn't walk without crutches for 2 months. I was told that I was a miracle that I was alive. And so my mom, she called me when I was in the hospital. I got a phone call from my mom, who was still in California. And she asked me, do you want me to come down? And, hear this, man. I was so fucking conditioned to protecting my parents that I said, I don't want to be a bother. Like, it's okay. You don't have to go out of your way, right? I almost just died, but don't worry about it, right? I don't need you to come here and love me, right? And she did anyway. And then before she went back to California, she wrote a letter and she gave it to me, told me not to open it until she left. And 12 years later, I go back to Mexico. I find that letter. And in that letter, she says, she said something along the lines of, which is why for me it is a terrible thing that, which is why, even though I know you want to be there with your friends, right? I had moved back to Mexico. And she said, even though I know you want to be there with your friends, this is what, for me, I think it's a terrible thing that you're there with your dad who is never around. And so, my mom knew the situation that we were in. And for whatever reason, right, it was just like, I guess her options in her mind must have been, I force my kid to stay here with me in California and deal with that, or I let my kid go back and live with an absent father, right? And a lot of it was also my mom projecting, because she wasn't really around much more than he was when we were living in California. That was a fucking pretty tough year, pretty depressing fucking year. If you look at the pictures, just based on my hair length, fucking my year in San Francisco, just based on my hair length, dude, was like maybe the most depressing year of my life, if not for the fact that there was the novelty of like living in a different country for the first time, and having video games and all that crap. But so, where was I going with all this? That's where it originated. It's fucking being alone. Yeah, and so it's this weird thing, man. Like 2 weeks ago when I got back, it actually started before I even left Mexico. And I wrote about it while I was down there. Was like I went on a couple walks on the beach. Like I sort of, I went down there to see my dad, and he was busy working, and so I could have found something else to do, and I did. But a lot of those feelings of neglect and of loneliness sort of resurfaced. And I was like, oh, fuck, what do I do with this? Right. And so I went on a couple of walks down the beach, and there was this one house that I saw two guys, like two older guys, sitting sort of facing the ocean, just with their feet up, sort of drinking a beer and chatting. Right. And as I walked by, I started to have these sort of like, oh, they could take me away from my loneliness voices in my head and fucking like do whatever they want with me. Just as long as they take me away from my loneliness, I'll do whatever I need to. So I started to fantasize about it while I was down there, and then I said, like, all right, well, that didn't happen. And I wasn't using my phone while I was down there, so I was like, as soon as I get back to Austin, I'm just gonna fucking, go for it. So the seed was planted before I even got back. And so, yeah, so when I got back, it was just like, what just happened in Mexico? I had my first podcast back. You can tell. It's like there was a lot, man. That trip was a lot. That trip was a lot, and it was a good lot. Like telling your dad, man, you hurt me. Like that's a big fucking deal. But it's also going to bring up a lot for you if you do that. It's not just like, dude, you need to tell your dad how you really feel. And once you do, everything's going to be good. It's like, no, once you do, man, you're going to fucking unlock Pandora's box. And out of that box is going to come, your fucking feelings of when you were a kid, and feeling guilty because you're not used to telling your dad these kinds of things, and all sorts of things are going to come up. And if you don't have the right tools to deal with it, you're going to fall back on your old fucking habits. And so that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened for me. Was I wanted to get away from what had just happened because it was difficult, and it still is difficult for me to sort of just accept who my dad is and accept my child. It's still difficult for me to accept my childhood. And so that's like, I'm not using my phone as much anymore. I'm not watching YouTube videos. I'm fucking spending all this time sitting and doing nothing, dude. Of course, stuff like this is going to come up, which is why, when I said like they're just looking at it with the wrong lens, the people that are holding negative energy, which are few, by the way. I just want to point that out. That's why I say that they're looking at it with the wrong lens, is because they're not right if I relapse. Because if I relapse, it doesn't mean it was all for nothing. It means you're doing things that are bringing up difficult emotions for you to handle. And this is how you solved those emotions when you were a kid. So have some fucking compassion, because basically you're young, you're small little, your inner child, dude, your younger self is in a lot of pain, and he's reaching out. This is the only way that he knows how to solve it. And he wants you to listen to him. Right? If I was just fucking watching YouTube videos and, I stopped playing Warzone. I haven't played Warzone since I got back. That used to be, I used to do that at least 2 or 3 nights out of the week with a friend of mine. So it was like easy for this whole sex men thing to just not even be a thing, right? But once you sort of get rid of all your distractions, it's not going to fix your life. It's going to point you in the right direction by showing you, here is what you're not dealing with, or what you're trying to deal with, but you're very good at avoiding. And so that's the thing, man. It's like, if it didn't happen this time, and I've had several sort of weeks like this throughout the last 2 years where I come close, and like I said, some of those times I've fallen to my younger self and not listened to him. But there's a lot of times where it's just like a wave that you just need to ride out, and just ride it out, man. Just don't, just be with it, man. And it's so, I think this is one of the things that I was thinking about, was like, because I just had on Wednesday. On Wednesday was my year clean from marijuana. And I was thinking, just like, it hasn't really been that hard. It's still a big deal. I'm not trying to diminish it, but I was just thinking, it hasn't been that hard. There's not like this chemical sort of like makeup in me that is urging me to smoke weed. If I think about it long enough, it's like, well, yeah, dude, that would be fucking an easy way to just fade away, right? Just get high. And it starts to sound appealing. But it's not the same as this thing that does really feel like a chemical thing that is happening, like the adrenaline spike and all those things. Like, it is the hardest thing for me not to do when those urges come. And so the fact that I didn't do it this time, to me, is a big deal. So that's, again, that's why I wanted to talk about it too, is because, like, I have this tendency to, when it comes, up for me to view that as like, you're not doing the work, man. And that's not the truth, man. The truth is that we're all very complicated apes. And, we're all born pure. And then we're sort of slowly morphed into this, ideally, you're morphed into a very amazing person that does a lot of good for the world and for themselves. But most frequently, more often than not, we are morphed into people that are just trying to escape from pain. And so when this comes up for me now, it's like, it is what's the word? It is a tool for me now. It isn't, and it's a tool in a different way. It used to be a tool for me to escape. Now it's a tool for me to realize, oh, there's something that is difficult for me right now. Right? It's like procrastination. I've been reading this book called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan. And he talks about procrastination, written by Benjamin Hardy. All the material in the book is by Dan Sullivan, right? It's like a co-author thing. But Dan Sullivan talks about why procrastination is not a problem. It's a solution, right? In the sense that if there is something you're procrastinating doing, it means that is a perfect time to find someone else to do it for you instead of finding a way to do it yourself, right? That's the whole premise of the book, is ask who, not how. And so like, if you don't ever work out and you keep procrastinating your start date, right? Oh, next year, as soon as my New Year's resolution is going to be to start exercising. And then January 1st comes and you start, and then you quit by February. And then, you keep procrastinating. When is the day going to come that I don't quit exercising? How can I not quit exercising? That is when you start, that's when you should then realize like, oh, there's this, exercise I keep procrastinating. Instead of who can help me to exercise and to keep a good exercise routine? Oh, well, maybe a fucking fitness instructor or a private fitness coach or whatever, And, it's easy to say, well, I don't have the money. That's a waste of money, whatever. Right. And then it's like, okay, then fuck you, dude. Just go back to how and live your life that way. Right. The premise of the book is who, not how. So for the sake of this discussion, when this urge comes up for me, it's like, it isn't something that I should look at like, why is this coming up for me? Or not why. I'm trying to transform this into the other thing, is like, when it comes up for me, I shouldn't see it as, or I try not to see it anymore as a bad thing. I see it as a good thing. It is an indication to me of sometimes it's hard to know if we're suppressing an emotion. Like, so if you don't even know how to feel, how should you know when you are feeling? And it's like exactly like this. When the thing that you know is not a healthy thing for you anymore comes up and you really want to do it, that is when you are going through something that you're afraid to go through. And so it's just a good, it's still hard. I'm not saying like I mastered it or anything, clearly. But when this comes up for me now, it's like, all right, something's up, let's slow down. And just let's slow down, man. Let's just slow down and think before we act and feel before we act, right? That should be the better It shouldn't be think before you speak. It should be feel before you do. And so, yeah, man, I'm going to wrap it at that, because I have one other thing I wanted to talk about. But yeah, there's just a reminder, man, to myself and to you that like this podcast is a place for me and for you guys to come and sort of forget about all the bullshit, you know, you're not supposed to talk about these things, or like, nah, you are, man. The reason that you are told that is because people are scared. What does it mean if we talk about these things? Oh, it means we're flawed individuals. Oh, but we're perfect. We're great. We're really high work ethic and all these things. We're all achievement oriented and blah blah. Fuck that, man. Yeah, no, I mean, it might not look like it from the way that I'm talking, because I'm in a fucking room by myself. And if I wanted to, I could just record another episode and never publish this again. The difficulty is going to be when I publish it. But this is something I've been wanting to do, and I've just been afraid to, right? Because of what it might mean to other people, even though I know what it means to me. And so, yeah, it's also a reminder to you, man, if you're going through something, or if you've gone through something before. I have a really good friend that lives in Minnesota, I think Minnesota. And she struggles with like depression and like some kind of like bipolar. I'm not sure exactly all the things, but whenever those things come up for her, I try to remind her, like, it's okay, man. It's okay. This isn't going to go away, like a blink of an eye. It's going to go away like a fucking 6-month hibernation. This needs time. And yeah, I just wanted to, that's part of why I wanted to share it, is because I don't want to create this illusion that like I'm fucking, hitting on all cylinders and my life is going, last episode I just had this weird taste in my mouth after the fact of like, I was like, yeah, I'm not fucking watching YouTube videos and I'm doing, and which was true, right? I wasn't lying about any of those things, but underneath all of those things, and maybe the reason that I was talking about those things is because I wanted to convince myself that I didn't immediately after I stopped recording go back to the internet and start browsing the fucking, personals ads. And so it's just like, yeah, man. Yeah, I'm not, don't put me on a pedestal, because I don't put myself on a pedestal. I just try to tell the truth when I can tell it, and when I'm ready to tell it, right? Because I also don't want to give the illusion that, or the idea that you're supposed to always tell the 100% brutal, honest truth about everything. That can hurt you sometimes. And right now, it's difficult for me to talk about this on the podcast, but it's not going to hurt me. I've done it before. And so I know sort of, even if somebody that was listening to this that didn't like what I'm saying, if they said something nasty to me, I've experienced that. And at the end of the day, that's not going to do much, right? The fear is internal. But so yeah, man, that's been that. That's been the fucking that's been my holiday season, everyone. That's been my holiday season, y'all. And dude, I also I also did an open mic. No, dude, I can't do that. I can't do two things that are difficult for me. Uh yeah, I bombed, man. At least it felt like I bombed. I kind of blacked out, so I don't even know if I bombed or not, but I haven't listened to the recording. I'm afraid to, man. I'm fucking afraid to. Should I do it? Should I just fucking it's 3 minutes and 50 seconds. I'm not going to listen to the whole thing, but fuck it, dude. Let's listen to let's listen to some of I performed. I'll give you the background, and this is how I'll close out the podcast is with this yeah I'll close it with this topic. I went on this past oh man, it was so it was brutal because I didn't even want to go up anymore. By the time I showed up, dude, at 7:30 p.m. I showed up at, of course, p.m. It's not a fucking early morning stand-up show. I showed up at 7:30 p.m. and it was drawing numbers, right? So I show up, I pick a number, dude. It's 33. I ask, how long are the sets? 4 minutes. Dude, 4-minute sets. That means 4 times fucking 33. That's 2 hours and 15 minutes, close to pretty much 2 hours and 12 minutes that I have to sit there until it's my turn. And people leave. That's the way these things go. It's an open mic. It's mostly comedians. Dude, I can't believe I'm gonna fucking play this clip. There is mostly it's just not even funny. That's the thing. And it's not, I don't even think it'll be funny for me that I bombed. Maybe it will for you. But it's almost like this is harder for me to talk about than the fucking other thing. And that's the thing. If I had been there by myself, I would have given 2 fucks about it. But my buddy Chris and my old coworker Will, who was on the podcast once, they were both there. Right. And by the time it was 2.5 hours later, I was just like, dude, my parking meter expired. Did I get a ticket? I don't want to be here. It's cold. My energy is drained. Right. Like, I've been laughing for 2 hours. I want to go home and go to fucking bed. I knew I had to be up early the next morning. It just was all the worst conditions. But I was like, fuck it, dude. I'm going to go up there and show my friends that even if you bomb, nothing happens. Right? And so I will play as long as I can bear. Everybody! How's everyone doing? Good, good. So transgender people, does anybody know an ex-transgender person? Like somebody that, fucking like if Caitlyn Jenner went back to being Bruce and was just like, yeah, for a couple of years in my life, I thought I was a woman and now I'm a fucking Olympian again, I'm trans, actually. I grew up Hispanic and I'm transitioning to white privilege. I did. I grew up in Cancun, Mexico, and for people that haven't been to Cancun, it's like the Wild West. I went there for Thanksgiving to see my dad, and I went to an all-inclusive resort just for one night, and all Americans, no one's wearing a mask. It's like everybody gets to be themselves, right? Fucking Corona's not real. They're all like, woo, let's stop pretending. And I had a pretty... All right, that's about as much as I can fucking play because Dude, I just realized as I'm listening to it that the one, I don't even know if you could hear him, but the one person that is laughing is my buddy Will. And, dude, who cares, man? It's just a bombed set. Nothing happens, dude. I'm still alive. But you could also just tell by my delivery that it's like, I know the bits aren't gonna land because of my delivery, and so I'm just going from one to the next, just without almost like I didn't even want people to laugh. Right? I was laughing more at my bits, and yeah, man. But the thing is that there was maybe like 15 people left. 2 of them were my friends. I was one of them. So, there's it started off with fucking 50 people, and then it got down to like 12 drunk people that, were ready to go home too. So, that's that is the podcast, people. I'll play you another 30 seconds just to close it out, right? I hate that I say right so much. I'll close it out with that, but if you're listening to this and you enjoyed what you listened to, please subscribe, hit the like button. If you are interested in learning more about, healing, lessons on writing and healing and tools for those as well, I have a newsletter that goes out once every week. You can unsubscribe anytime. And if you want to sign up for that, you just go to sendfox.com/NIKOAGF. That's NIKOAGF. And enter your email address. I am doing a giveaway too. And this giveaway, if you're listening to this a month from now, this giveaway will be over. This is a giveaway that is December. It ends, I think it ends by the time the next episode comes out. So what is that? Today's the 5th, 6th, 7th, the 14th. It ends on the 14th of December, 2020. But I'm giving away a luxury lined journal and a copy of my last collection of short stories, Palette Cleansers for the Meek. I'm giving away 3 of each of those, right? So you get both the journal and the book, and I'm giving away 3 sets of 2. And there's not that many people, man, signed up, so it's a pretty easy win. It's like probably like a 20% chance that you'll win. And all you need to do is enter your fucking email address. And I think that is going to do it for the podcast. Thank you, everybody, for listening to The Pupil's Life. I hope some of what I talked about today helps and comforts you in some way. If you're feeling alone, you're not. You can always fucking send me a message on Instagram, an email, whatever you want to do. All of that is linked below. And yeah, thanks for listening, y'all. Take care. And I will see you next week. Here's 30 more seconds of me bombing. Previous conversation with my dad, like the point of the trip was to talk to my dad about some childhood shit, some childhood trauma. Not even stand up. I'm just talking about my emotions at this point. Problem. And the thing that I told him, the main thing was like, what do you know about me? Has anybody ever asked their dad, like, what do you know about me? Because when I asked my dad, he was like, what do I know about you? You're my kid. You're my kid. Of course I know you. He turned into fucking Joe Pesci from Goodfellas.